next part here says I'm supposed to introduce Captain Ron Malloy. It says in parentheses SEAL, but I think that probably surrounds everything about him. And he's going to give a talk about teammates and what it takes to be a SEAL. He also will lead a toast to honor the lives and legacies of Terry Tomlin, Thomas O'Connor, Sean Guckin, and all of the fallen NSW warriors. So they should be passing around about now some shots of Gentleman Jack, Terry Tomlin's go-to whiskey, and get ready to toast. But first, get ready for a ride. Captain Ron Malloy has some words.
All right, Big Ron!
Hey, let's bring it in, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, get in a little closer. Hey, I'd like to start by welcoming our family, friends, teammates, swimmers, our sponsors, our kayakers. What a great year. What a great swim it was today for the Navy SEAL Foundation. We had a heck of a time, and it was a kick in the cojones here this year with the currents. I'd like to also add a very special welcome to our distinguished guests, which are many amongst us today. And most of all, our Gold Star family members. We have over 20 families with us today. It is both an honor and a privilege for me to be up here today. To be a small part of the swim means the world to me. And quite frankly, in my humble opinion, there isn't a higher cause than to support those that have sacrificed so much for our country. Before I get started, I think it's important to note that there are no words that I can say to ease the pain of those who have lost loved ones. And out of the deep respect and cherished memories of our fallen, I will likely strike some emotional chords. Actually, I know I'm going to strike some emotional chords. So you might want to grab a handkerchief, a bar napkin, and buckle up. Because once again, we're going for a ride. Who would have thought 62 years ago that the SEAL teams would be where they are today? In those 62 years, not only have we earned the nation's trust as the military's most elite fighting force, but we have shaped the fate of America in so many ways, with our admirals, our governors, our senators, our congressmen, our astronauts, our industry leaders, our novelists, and our chancellors, our lawyers, doctors, professors, and teachers, and law enforcement officers. Ladies and gentlemen, the list is long and it's strong. So as we get ready to celebrate the 15th Tampa Bay Frogman Swim and the 23 years of the Navy SEAL Foundation and all the goodness that goes along with that, I thought I'd ask for a few moments of your time to highlight some of our rich frogman and teammate heritage. And I'm going to start with a quick sea story. A sea story about the father of Naval Special Warfare, Mr. Phil Buckelew. It was January 1944. The seas off Normandy were calm and cool. The moon was low on the horizon. As a small kayak with 2 men on board quietly paddled 15 miles over the horizon to the coast of France. On board was Lieutenant Junior Grade Phil Buckelew and a fellow sailor. As they approached the coastline, they could see the German gun emplacements. They could see the German foot patrols. They precisely timed the patrols, silently paddled ashore, hid their kayak, and began their beach recon, which included taking samples of sand to determine the beach's trafficability for a landing that would change the course of history for centuries to come. 6 months later, on 6 June, as rockets sailed over his head, as machine gun fire splattered all around him, Mr. Phil Buckelew would lead the assault forces into the beaches at Normandy, For his heroic actions, he would receive our nation's second highest award, the Navy Cross. He would receive a second Navy Cross for other actions in the European theater, and he would go on to be nominated for a third Navy Cross for actions behind lines in China. I'm beginning to see, and you should too, why he was sort of dubbed the father of naval special warfare. Now, approximately 30 years later, on another beach halfway around the world, a young petty officer named Michael Thornton would rush to the aid of his wounded lieutenant. In the process, he would end up killing many enemy soldiers and swimming his wounded lieutenant several miles out to sea before being picked up by a naval vessel. Pretty incredible. For his heroic actions, he would receive our nation's highest award, the Medal of Honor. And the man he rescued, Thomas Norris, Terry would also receive the Medal of Honor for a previous action. Now, 30 plus years later, I'm beginning to see a pattern here. I don't know about you guys. 30 plus years later, 4 more Navy SEALs would be awarded the Medal of Honor. By coincidence, 2 of them would be named Michael. Michael Murphy, Murph, Michael Mansour, Mikey, Britt Slabinski, Slab, and Edward Byers, Ed. The Michaels would receive their award posthumously. And Ed and Slab would receive them in person. All the awards were for heroic actions in the most treacherous mountain ranges of Afghanistan or the most forbidding deserts in Iraq. Places that only true warriors and teammates feel at home. Once again, reaffirming our reputation as epic warriors. In the words of Aristotle, just kidding, that's an inside joke between General Fenton and myself. But in all reality, in the words of Ronald Reagan, that's right, you can Google it, it's true. In the words of Ronald Reagan, where do we get such men? Before I try to answer that question, I'm going to say a few words about our fallen and my fellow teammates. And this is where you might want to buckle up a bit. It is our love of nation, our way of life. It's our love for those that we serve side by side. We defend, we avenge, we sacrifice, and we bleed, and we're willing to die for this unique experiment they call the United States of America. I am complete for having experienced this level of sacrifice with my fellow teammates and those that died. They died for me. They died for you. They died for countless citizens that will never even know their name. They will never get to experience the cycle of life. They will never get to experience the birth and growth of their children, all because they chose to stand in our place and finish the enemy for us. It's not enough to acknowledge the fallen by name. It's not enough to inscribe their names into marble as proof that they lived and died. In order to truly honor our fallen, we must know how and we must know why they gave their lives. And although every one of their stories is unique in some form, there's one thing in common with all of them. And I'm here to tell you right now that their death was not a random act. It wasn't a splash of misfortune. These men voluntarily placed themselves in harm's way day after day, night after night. Training, combat, doesn't matter. They did that. They were willing and they were prepared to die if necessary. Why? So that we could enjoy our God-given rights, so that our families can sleep peacefully in their beds at night. That's why. These men live by an ethos, a code that few can comprehend. Accepting the inherent risks of their profession and placing the welfare and security of others above their own self. Our fallen didn't get a vote. They executed the lawful intent of our government. There is no political affiliation on their dog tags. And they continued the warrior legacy of the United States without regard for adulation or unanimous approval. The Navy SEALs are not to be mistaken for some Netflix series or some reality TV show. And I can attest that they are definitely not a bunch of choir boys. They have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that our adversaries would be wise to avoid if they know what's good for them. They will not back down. They will not be intimidated. They've all seen war. They don't want war. But if you want war with the United States, there's one thing I can promise you. That you will feel the tip of the spear. And somebody else will raise your sons and daughters. America wants that kind of country. America wants that kind of world. And we stand ready. We stand ready to protect and defend it, so help me God.
Amen.
So where do we get such men? Well, our Medal of Honor recipients, our wounded and our fallen, are all American warriors from every walk of life, every corner of the nation, unselfishly doing what the nation has asked them to do. What separates these men apart from others is not just their courage. The operators, the warriors in the audience, have all seen courage in battle. What separates these men apart is not just their tactical acumen. Again, the warriors in the audience have seen highly professional soldiers in a battle. What separates these men apart is that in the midst of overwhelming odds, they knew they had an obligation. They had an obligation to every man, past and present, that wore the trident. You see, if we've learned anything from Karl von Clausewitz and past wars, we learn that men fight for the men beside them, and they fight for a greater cause. The trident isn't just some piece of chest candy. It's a greater cause. It's a symbol of all that is good and right about America. It represents the finest maritime soldiers ever to take the battlefield. Their courage, their sacrifice, their strength of their families and one another will be told for eons to come. They are part of a new legend now. And it goes without saying that our fallen will continue to be honored with the future generation of teammates, and they will guide our future generation of teammates and steady their resolve in the toughest of situations. For the swimmers out there today and the kayakers, each and every one of you swam for a warrior that embodies what it means to be a teammate. Thank you. For the Navy SEAL Foundation, Admiral Pybus, John Doolittle, Kurt, our race director, phenomenal. All our volunteers, our families, our friends, my wife Susie especially. We cannot do what we need to do without you. So never underestimate the power of your support. Thank you. For our Gold Star families, our nation owes you a debt of gratitude, and your enormous sacrifice will not be forgotten. I promise you. As I mentioned earlier today, there are no words that I can say to ease your pain. But I do have a huge, huge favor to ask. And I think some of you know what I'm about to ask. Following the commemorative toast here in about 2 minutes, I'm going to ask that you raise your heads slightly higher than normal, and that you laugh and you smile and you tell a story of life, because that's what our fallen teammates would want us to do. Because that's what great nations, cultures, people, families, and teammates do in their finest hour. And lastly, in times of war and uncertainty, there stands a special breed of warriors ready to answer our nation's call. In the SEAL teams, those warriors are also known as teammates. Thank you. Stand by for the commemorative toast. Charge your glasses. Pass out those shots. Let's raise them up. May the light perpetually shine upon the fallen. May God protect our first responders and our troops today and every day, especially those in the most dangerous parts of the world right now. And may God continue to comfort our 9/11 families and our Gold Star families. And then may all the rest of us live our lives worthy of their sacrifices. Cheers. Thank you. God bless you all. We already know that God has blessed the United States of America because He gave us the best man-trained and equipped special operations force that the world has ever seen. Don't forget to live like Tom. And remember, sorry, we'll go. Love you. Malloy out.